Trapped forever. The Nutty Putty tragedy. 16-minute long video. What the hell is going on? Why would anyone even... Oh, and I gotta add. Why would anyone ever risk going into a cave? I don't know, but let's figure out what happened to this guy. The Nutty Putty tragedy. While we watch this, I'm going to be making a sandwich.
Families gather for the holidays. Fun activities are often planned to make core memories together. The Jones family decided to go caving at Nutty Putty, but they had no idea of the devastating loss their family would suffer. This is the fatal breakdown of the Nutty Putty cave tragedy. John Jones was ready for some family fun when they decided to explore the Nutty Putty cave in the Utah desert near Salt Lake City. He had not been to this particular cave before, but he and his brother Josh had spent much of their youth caving in a variety of Utah caves. He considered himself to be an experienced caver, though his exploring had slowed down in recent years. He had gotten married, had a child, and was currently a medical student at University of Virginia. This made for a busy regular...
That's the point where you stop cave diving, bro. Why, bro? Exactly. You start, you're chilling, you're having a family, a wife, a kid. That's when you say, yeah, you know what? Maybe I shouldn't do this dumbass shit and climb into a cave. I think that might be the point where I would say that, you know? But apparently Chris Jones, or whatever this guy's name is, RIP to bro, decided, nah, you know what? Let's do one more little expedition.
Schedule, which left little time for cave exploring. During the Thanksgiving break, he was returning home to relax with family for the holiday. They planned a day of hiking and exploring at Nutty Putty, which is considered a beginner's cave by most. The main areas of the cave were interesting for everyone. There was the maze room, which had openings and tunnels leading around large boulders. There was a large ramped area called the slide, where the entire room sloped down at a 45-degree angle with a rope to guide you down. This cave system was well mapped in most of the traversable areas. There were also well-known areas that were more challenging, like the birth canal or the aorta crawl. These areas were tight and difficult to pass, so only more experienced cavers would be attempting to squeeze through these passages. Even with the known challenges, people still found themselves stuck in tight squeezes in these tunnels. Nutty Putty had just recently been opened back up to the public, after being closed for several years because of cavers getting stuck in these difficult squeezes. They were passable for some, but others would find that their shoulders or hips would just not pass, no matter how hard they pulled against the rock. After wedging themselves in the narrow space, they were completely stuck, requiring serious assistance to inch out backwards. Because of these rescues...
$1 billion or go Nutty Putty Cypher, bro. What do you think?
A new permit-style entry was required, listing 2 experienced cavers per group. Josh had obtained a permit for a group to explore the Tuesday before Thanksgiving, November 24, 2009. John's pregnant wife Emily stayed back at the house with their 1-year-old daughter Lizzie to enjoy a more relaxing evening with the in-laws. Their group of 11 family and friends started off in the main open cave sections. Eventually, John and his brother Josh took 2 friends off to find more challenging tunnels to try. They had heard stories about the birth canal and consulted the map for its location. It was known to be a long, tight passage.
Actual footage of the birth... So, they saw this, right? They see actual footage of the birth canal, and they say,
with a
oh wow, that looks
squeeze.
That looks quite good, and that looks like quite... You have to have like a kink for this. Like, this has to be some sort of fetish to want to... Right? This has to be a fetish if you want to do it, to experience what this man has experienced. Never in my life have I thought I would like to go into a tight hole such as this.
Near the end. If you could just get past the narrow...
But I'm not really a Minecraft YouTuber either, so...
narrowest part, there would be a small room at the end to stand up and turn around. They knew that the birth canal would be tight and could be panic-inducing, even for experienced cavers. They spread out to try to find this particular tunnel.
And no, I would not choose the Nutty Putty. I would choose the $1 billion.
Moving through a small tunnel for around 15 feet. It undulated up and down in several elevations over the next 10 feet.
That's a big-ass word.
There were outcroppings of
Undulated?
rocks and tight squeezes
What does
that required a
undulated
caver
mean?
to twist their body in several orientations to get shoulders past, then hips, and finally twisting legs so that they bend in the proper direction. It was not a matter of simply pulling your body forcefully through a tight hole.
I just ripped the cheese.
This area was called the corkscrew, because the few who had been through it were small and flexible, using all their skills to maneuver slowly through the panic-inducing contortions. After the corkscrew area,
If your girl got whole, what's the point of going whole? Yeah, literally. After that video, please play this brain game. Bro, maybe I'll play a brain game. I'll see. It better be a good brain game, bro. Brain games are for the devil.
the passage angles up for another 5 feet or so, then turns down over a rock ledge with a sharp 90-degree bend to the left. Up until now, cavers had used this small area after the corkscrew to turn back on themselves if needed, and head back through the difficult section. 5 years before, a 16-year-old boy named Brock Clark was stuck in this corkscrew section.
The hell?
He was only 5 foot 7 inches tall and weighed 140 pounds, but got wedged when he was trying to turn around. It took 14 hours for rescuers to free him. John was in the exact spot where Brock got stuck trying to turn around. Since John was 6 feet tall and 200 pounds, he clearly knew that turning around in this part of the tunnel was not an option for him.
He was how tall?
He was in a 12-inch high space.
6'2"?
He knew that turning around. Since John was 6 feet tall and 200 pounds.
6 foot, 200 pounds? Brother, let me tell you something. You have to be on the spectrum to do this type of shit. There is something mentally wrong with these folks. Continue.
He clearly knew that turning around in this part of the tunnel
You're
was not
6
an
foot?
option for him.
Cap, bro. I call
He was in a
cap.
12-inch high space.
I'll
with
be
not
honest,
enough
dude.
lateral
I'll be
area
honest.
for
I'm
his
only.
pressed body to ball up
I'll
for
be
a
honest.
turn.
I'm only 6
He pushed
foot
forward to the
8.
ledge area
Really? I'm
and
only
squeezed
6'8",
over the
I'll be
top of
honest.
it. It was a tight area to get through, but he thought he could see it open up down below. He sucked in his stomach and pressed himself through the squeeze, pulling
Finishing
forward
touches
on
on
the
the
rocks
sandwich.
in front of him. He would
Ew.
be moving headfirst in a downwards angle now, but it looked like there was an area ahead to turn around. John didn't know it, but no one else had ever crossed over this ledge
no.
before. He was in completely uncharted
He's
territory.
in cooked area now.
Despite being in an extremely tight and uncomfortable position,
He's
John
getting
kept
cooked.
his cool. He was certain that there would be an opening ahead. All along, he thought he was in some part of
He's
the birth
cooked.
canal, where many cavers had felt stuck in the constricting tunnel, but ended up being just fine once they reached the other side.
I'm 6'7".
Once he passed through a tight zone, he started to slide toward the bottom of this tunnel.
I'm not LeBron James.
He was
but
nearly doing a handstand,
people do say I look
trying to
just
hold
like
his
him.
body up and figure out how to push backwards. He still couldn't turn, and now he was upside down. Gravity was pulling his 200-pound body against the fading strength of his arms. He yelled out to his brother
This
Josh
is
and told him
inappropriate.
not
We
to
just
follow
made a
him,
6'7"
but to
joke.
go back out. They
We just
discussed
made a
his options
6'7"
and
joke
decided that moving
while
forward to
watching
try
a
to
man
turn
die.
around was
That's
the best
very,
idea.
Very sad.
He was collapsing onto his
We need to
shoulders
do
and
better
head
as
at
a
this
society.
point, and needed to make a move to get out of this vertical position. His headlamp gave him a glimpse of a hole in the floor ahead, which might lead to a larger space. He felt a little more hopeful now, thinking that they would be laughing about this misadventure over Thanksgiving dinner.
Oh,
He made the slight turn and headed towards the hole.
that's not good.
Exactly how he got himself into this tunnel hole is unknown. It's thought that he may have slipped, hit his head, and became wedged in the tight space. The other thought was that he looked in the hole, but misjudged what he saw, thinking it was an opening and not simply a dead-end fissure.
Oh man.
Either way, John had ended up in a small opening in the bottom of this tunnel, which was impossibly narrow. Just 18 inches by 10 inches, not much bigger than the screen of a laptop computer.
Damn.
John found himself wedged nearly completely upside down at a 70-degree angle. He had spent some time trying to push himself back upwards out of this hole. It was exhausting. His arms were pinned in a useless position, one folded under his
Bro, maybe if you didn't have such a big booty hole, bro. If you didn't have such a big butt, maybe you could have got out.
chest, and the
It's terrible.
other trapped on a rock down by his side. He strained against the walls and quickly realized that all of his effort would not move him back up 5 feet to the shallow tunnel. His calves and feet were still free up in the passage, but his legs were now wedged on the smallest side of the hole, only 8 inches wide. He started yelling for Josh again. His brother knew that he was trying to turn around, so his yells were not a good sign. Josh made his way back into this tight space and traversed the corkscrew path. But unlike his brother, he went feet first this time. He continued toward the sound of John's voice, up over the ledge. He finally came to an alarming sight. He could see the end of his brother's legs sticking out of the rock, as if it had swallowed him whole. He inched forward until his feet could squeeze one of John's legs. He tried to grip and pull up, while John pushed from his end. After several futile attempts, they were both feeling exhausted and frustrated. Josh could see that this was very serious, and they would need professional help to get him out. They agreed that Josh should go get help, and John should try, as much as possible, to stay calm and relaxed. While Josh went for help, one of the other family friends went into the area to speak to John and let him know that he wasn't alone. For several hours,
After he passed away, they took 24 hours to take his body out. They couldn't, so it became his. Yeah, bro. That's crazy. They just made it his grave. Like, they couldn't even get his body out after he died. I would never do that. Give me the $1 billion.
John just remained trapped upside down, focused mostly on the chore of breathing. The fissure squeezed his chest, where only shallow breaths were possible. All of his efforts to move up had actually settled him deeper into the crack. As time went on, gravity continued to pull him against the rough walls of the tunnel, tightening its grip on his exhausted body. Once help had arrived, the first cave rescuer, Susie Matola, made her way to where John was stuck. It was now 12:30 in the morning, and John had been upside down for 3 hours. Susie was just 5 feet 3 inches tall, so working her way through the corkscrew area was much easier for her. Ropes had been tied to her ankles as a precaution in case she got stuck as well. She checked on how John was doing and let him know that they'd be getting him out. He must have had a small wave of relief, thinking that professional help had arrived and he would soon be free of this trap. Susie tied webbing straps around his legs and then fed it back to the pit where the tunnel started. Several attempts were made to pull on the ropes to leverage John back up and out of the fissure. There was just too much friction on the ropes to make any effective release on John. He was still pinned, without the use of his arms to fully assist. After attempting a few things and considering many aggressive options, the decision was made to enlist a pulley system in order to help lift John up and out. A pulley had been successfully used when Brock Clark was stuck 5 years before. Even though they had a plan of how to help, this was not an easy location to work in. Each piece of equipment would need to be brought in from the entrance, which took nearly an hour to reach the other side of Corkscrew.
How are they going to do
that? The
tunnel
was extremely tight, and only smaller power tools could be carried in and out. Only one person could be in there to assist at a time, and they would need to be small or wiry to effectively move through the passage. It was just...
How do you even become professional at this? How many people do you think in the world are actually professional at this? I don't understand how or why anyone...
Not an ideal...
Like, do little kids have dreams one day that they'll be a cave dweller?
...situation.
I've never heard of that.
Each pulley took an extraordinary amount of time to install. During this time, cavers were trying to talk with John, console him, and share stories to keep him calm and talking. He was a devout Mormon, and spent time praying and singing to seek solace in this unreal situation. John had spent the night upside down, and was showing signs of the physical limitations of the body to withstand this position. The human body was not made to be upside down for long. The entire circulatory system is designed using pulses of pressure from the heart to move blood forward through the system, while valves and fibrous vessels would hold blood and stop it from going backwards. This one-way flow balances pressure, gravity, and valves to keep oxygen available to all tissues and to remove toxins from the body through the kidneys. John's body had been fighting gravity for more than 12 hours. The brain was not built to withstand this kind of fluid pressure. Fluids were building up in his lungs, and toxins were starting to accumulate from the lack of proper circulation. His organs were pressing on his lungs, and each breath was an exhausting effort for muscles not built for such work. His breathing was slowing, and he was completely spent from the effort.
No, bro. I don't even like being upside down for more than 2 seconds. I can't imagine 27 hours. Nutty Putty sounds like a peanut butter name. I thought Nutty Putty was like... Obviously, it's going to be a cave. I thought Nutty Putty... Oh, yeah, I was thinking of this stuff, the silly putty. So when you mentioned the Nutty Putty incident, I thought you meant like someone put silly putty in their butthole or something.
Throughout the night,
I didn't know it was a cave.
Gone from being completely calm and lucid to helplessly thrashing his legs and hallucinating. It was excruciating to watch for the rescuers. They were helpless, exhausted, and feeling trapped themselves. The air in this cave system was warm and damp. It took a concerted effort to remain calmly breathing when you are restricted and can't move or even breathe properly. but the rescuers knew they could get out when needed. John didn't have that luxury. He couldn't expand his chest to breathe, and the air around him was losing its oxygen concentration little by little.
What if you can create
Out ads.
your own website by saying, this is what I want? With Wix, you can.
During this time, a wired telecom system was brought down to where John was stuck.
That's what I thought you meant. That's why I was reluctant to look it up, because I thought you meant like silly putty. And when you say like a silly putty incident, I can only imagine someone doing something really weird with silly putty.
His wife spoke with him, encouraging him to hang on and be faithful. John assured her that he would be out with her soon. It wasn't until 4 o'clock that day that they finally got the pulleys in place to move him. Ryan Schertz was in the tunnel when the system was ready to try. John's body had settled into the narrow side of the opening, so Ryan had to push his legs over as the team pulled from outside. Each heave moved him inch by inch up out of the hole. By this time, John's legs were in excruciating pain. A rope had been tied around his legs for hours as rescuers tried various methods to help him out. They were completely blue and had no discernible pulse, yet each tug had him call out to stop as his nerves were ultra-sensitive at this point. They paused to give him a moment to gather himself, and then tried again. It seemed to be working. John was finally being pulled up out of this hole. He was raised enough for Ryan to look down to make actual eye contact with him and pass down a tube to drink Gatorade. This effort was extremely slow going, and they were all exhausted from the difficult effort. Ryan was squeezed in a tunnel just 12 inches high and had his head near John's legs as they worked him slowly out of the tight 10-inch fissure. Although they were making some progress in lifting him up, they were no closer to getting him out. His legs were hitting the low ceiling above his tunnel, and twisting them into the passage was impossible. He had no control over his legs now, after 19 hours upside down. Without his help to delicately bend his knees to the side, they were strongly considering breaking his legs to get him back into the passage.
Ouch.
Because time was running out for John. Then, in a sudden moment of blinding pain, Ryan blacked out.
Who?
When he came to, he was bleeding heavily and confused. The rope, holding the pulley to
Who blacked out?
a natural arch section in the cave, broke and whipped the carabiner and pulley directly into Ryan's face. He suffered damage to his
Damn.
face, lip, and tongue, as well as a concussion. He had to get out of there quickly. John was back where he started, completely wedged in the tunnel with the circulation to his arms cut
That's terrible. Have you guys ever had a concussion? I don't think I've had one. I don't think I've ever had a concussion. That's terrible.
off, and his legs completely dead. He was unable to help free himself
His
in any
face
way.
is done.
This moment started the final demise of John Jones.
Ouch.
After Ryan was checked out in the pit and then sent off to the hospital, his father Dave took
Did it
his
say he was unconscious? Like he got knocked out from that?
place in the passage with John. It took an hour to re-establish the pulley lines, and Dave tried to tie a rope around John's body, but couldn't get the rope past his wedged torso. All the time Dave was with John, he was not responsive. This entire
Who broke the skull? Ryan? Ryan's skull got broken? Or John did when he fell? What?
entire operation required John's help to effectively rescue him. There was no way to lift his 200-pound, 6-foot frame without him pushing and trying to leverage himself in some way. In Dave's effort to tie up John, he got himself stuck for about 15 minutes. Their desperate effort to help save this man had put both his son and himself in danger. It was a devastating reality. Once he had pushed himself back into the 12-inch tunnel, he was exhausted and had to leave. Brandon Kowalis took his place
Skull
and
broke.
brought in the telecom system so John's family could talk to him. His wife Emily expressed her love and told him to take a break and rest after all of his effort. She still truly believed he would be coming out.
Oh, Ryan. Yeah, so Ryan. Damn. So when the pulley flipped, it hit his skull. I missed that part.
Effort to help save this man had put both his son and himself in the demise of John Jones.
Damn.
He was bleeding heavily and confused. The ropes he had put for all of his effort. She still truly believed he would be coming out.
Damn, she told him to rest, not knowing he was like literally gonna rest. Like, he's done for, bro. That's terrible.
But Brandon could see what she could not. John was no longer responsive, and no signs of life could be heard. Over the previous several hours, Ryan reported the gurgling breaths that John was struggling with. Now, there was silence. The rescue team gathered in the pit area inside the cave and discussed the situation. It was determined that a medical professional would need to confirm that he had actually passed. A paramedic was sent into the tight section to confirm what was suspected. At 11:56 on Wednesday, November 25th, John Jones was pronounced dead. The rescue teams worked for 24 hours straight to try to free John, but it was just not possible with his upside-down position. The clock was ticking, and he just ran out of time. John survived an extraordinary 27 hours in an inverted position, which is 3 times longer than what was predicted as possible. The 6 rescue personnel who actually reached John in that rocky prison were truly heroic. They willfully placed themselves in a portion of the cave that was unmapped with many known risks.
How are they able to pronounce him dead if they couldn't reach his heart to get a heartbeat? Can you get a pulse from a foot? Is that possible?
They were selfless in their efforts.
Bro, I don't feel a pulse in my foot. My foot might be dead. Doctor? So, like, a doctor can just look at someone and be like, yeah, they're dead. It's not making sense.
Maintained a calm demeanor, and never gave up on a seemingly impossible rescue. After they determined that recovering the body would be impossible, John was left to rest in the Ed's Push section of the Nutty Putty cave for eternity. The entire cave system was closed off with concrete, never to be explored again. A plaque was placed there
A doctor cave? What?
to commemorate the life of John Jones.
Yeah. Bro. I keep seeing this thumbnail and it makes me want to eat burger.